Kia ora, Katie. Ngā mihi kia koe e hoa. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to come and have a kōrero on the podcast. I've been really looking forward to having this conversation with you. Lots to talk about. But to get us started, I'd love if you could introduce yourself to our listeners.
Kia ora, Sandra. It's really nice to be here and I appreciate the invite to come and kōrero with you and your listeners. Ko Katie Brown tōku ingoa, he uri tēnei no raukawa no Ngāti Whātua. I'm Katie. I have whakapapa to Ngāti Raukawa in Waikato and Ngāti Whātua in Kaipara. I grew up in the South Island in Timaru. And my mum's side is Irish and Scottish. So I've got whakapapa across the motu and across the world as well. I am the kai whakahaere or the CEO of Social Good and of Te Hapori Matihiko.
Nice. So let's go back a little bit and talk about your business journey. Like, where did you start in order to end up where you are today, leading 3 businesses? And I want to get into all the juicy pieces about each of those businesses. But let's just start with the backstory of how you got here.
Okay, so I came to Wellington to do a degree in marketing and management. And while I was there, I worked at Trade Me. So I did my degree during the day and Trade Me at night. I have always been entrepreneurial. So back when I was, I don't know, I must have been 16, 17, I decided I wanted to go to Canada and live there for a year and study over there. So I ran parties at my dad's house and charged people to come to the parties to raise money to go to Canada and study over there. So I think it's been in my blood to want to build my own money, to create things, create enterprises. I have two really supportive parents who were just like, yeah, go for it. Yep, you can do that. Obviously, my dad let me have parties at his house to make money. And then, yeah, so when I went to Wellington, to Victoria University to study, I had in my head that I wanted to start an events management company, and I had to go to university to learn how to run events and how to run my own business. That was my thinking. And while I was working in Wellington, I was exposed to a whole bunch of really cool stuff. At Trade Me, it was technology, innovation. It was at the startup phase where, you know, we were kind of making little changes on the website and seeing what happened. And it was a really good time to learn about technology. And it was also the start of social media as a business. So it was Twitter back then, and I got my hands on the Trade Me Twitter, and I was like doing customer service, and I really enjoyed it. And so then once I left Trade Me, I finished my degree, worked there for a few years and developed my skills. I moved into a web development place that built web apps and websites and for mainly government clients. And then I started doing social media strategy over there. And then I went to ACC, and I went there as a social media sentiment analyst, the first and last, I think. It was a new role, and I managed to write myself out of that role when I said, I don't think you need a social media sentiment analyst. I think you need a social media team, and I think I should lead it. And so I wrote a little business case, and they trusted me. So I got to build that team there. It gradually became the digital content team. We ran behavior change campaigns, hundreds of them all the time. And that's really where my drive for using these marketing skills, which can be used for bad, they are used to manipulate people, and I felt really uncomfortable about that, that they can be used for good things. And that actually that's where it felt really good for me, is to go, okay, I've got all these marketing skills and communication skills, and they can be used to make people's lives better. And so when I left ACC, I started my own company. It was actually in partnership with this other guy, and we called it Social Good. And it was around, at the time, it was around creating a television show to support rangatahi who were not in work or employment. And then COVID hit. So we did that for about a year, and then COVID hit, and the decision really was, do we continue on this kaupapa? I got pulled into the all of government response to helped set up Unite Against COVID, and then ran all of that. And so I was in the thick of it, and I was like, this isn't going to stop in a couple of months. This is going to be a couple of years. So we made the decision to separate in terms of our business partnership. And my only thing was, I said, you keep the funding for that kaupapa. I just want the name, because it talked about, I made it up because it represented the mahi that I do, which is around using social media for good kaupapa. So that's how that became a thing. And then I think once I came out of the intensity that was running Unite Against COVID, and the campaign and all of that, I had connected with a bunch of different people, including someone called Lee Timu, and him and I spoke on stage at a meta event, and we were like, oh, we need to do more for Māori in technology. And then we ended up applying for some funding through MB. We got the funding, and that's how we set up Te Hapori Matiko. So it's all been organic. It's been rolling into these things and seeing opportunities and being like, cool, I can add my mātauranga there. So that's how I ended up where I am now.
Just really following the intuition, following the path that was laid in front, and every opportunity, just opening the door and seeing what was on the other side.
That's it.
Love that. Love that. So tell me a little bit about like Social Good. So, its original intent was to deliver programs for rangatahi, and now you've split from that partnership. What does Social Good as an organization or as a business, what does that currently do?
Yeah, so Social Good in its new form is using social media and digital channels for good kaupapa. So we're either helping organizations run campaigns, deliver their communications on social media, train their teams to use social media in a powerful way. So that's where that's a sweet spot that we've found in terms of where our heart is, but also where our superpowers are. So I really love helping organizations use social media properly. It really grates on me sometimes where I'm like, oh, I wish they did a better job and I want to help them. And so we do lots of training for that exact reason, is so that we can empower people and offer people a more cost-effective way of running their socials.
And so do you offer your services in like an agency, so they completely outsource their social media to you? Or what does that look like, in terms of how you offer your services?
Yeah, we usually work in partnership with organizations, because I'm a big believer of empowering organizations and their kaimahi to do the work after we've gone. I think where a lot of agencies are great, and especially the big ones, but they're running ad campaigns. And so once the ad campaign's over, the team are just back to, or the organization's just back to the same level of expertise, the same level of content coming out. So for us, we've done a good job if the team are empowered to do really good work once the campaign's over. So quite often we will set them up with a campaign, we'll work with them over a couple of months, run the campaign, but at the same time run training for them and get all of their all of their, I guess, social media hygiene up in order. So all of the good stuff upgraded, everything, all of their systems running really well. And then we can walk away and know really confidently that they're equipped to continue to deliver to this new community.
And so are your campaigns that you're working with, are you looking at helping them with their organic delivery, or is it more paid marketing where they bring you in?
Both. I think people, usually the trigger for people is that they have a campaign that they want to get out. But, you know, I am a big believer in the power of good organic content as well. LinkedIn, for example, you know, you don't get much bang for your buck if you pay for people to see your things. But if you build really good engagement and connections on LinkedIn, then you're going to get a really good result. So there's a balance between the paid and the unpaid or organic, but both are given to the organisations that we work with.
And are you like, do you lean towards one kind of social media channel, or are you working across all the social media channels?
We work across all of them. I'm the first to say I am an aging millennial, and so I am not going to be creating TikToks for our clients, but we have a couple of Zoomers working for us. So the Zoomers know how to create TikToks and what's trending and that sort of thing. So we'll go wherever our clients' audience are. And so obviously Meta has dominated in Aotearoa. But that said, you know, there's real value in having a YouTube strategy. There's real value in connecting on TikTok if that's where your people are. So for us, the first step is really understanding where is your audience, who are they, and what kind of stuff do they like looking at, and how can we help you deliver that?
Yeah. Where are your people? That's the best one. Great. So what does your team look like? I'm intrigued. Like, do you run a team that sizes up and sizes down with the campaigns that you're engaged to deliver? Are you an employer, or are you a contract? You know, what does that look like inside your organization?
Yeah, so I think it's helpful to have two companies that I'm running, because what it's meant is that everybody's skilled with both organizations. So I've got a completely remote team. We've got 4 people working remote at the moment. So I've got someone in Kaikoura, someone in Otipoti, someone in Tamaki Makaurau, and someone in Otaki. And so so we've got leads on either side. So one social good lead and one Te Hapori Matihiko lead, and then kaimahi team members that work across both. And so, you know, when we have something big on, like with Te Hapori Matihiko, we have the Matihiko Awards every June. The whole team will scale up and move over that side to work on that, because it's all encompassing. And then we've had a couple of big campaigns recently with social good, so the team will come over in total. Ideally, you know, probably need another 1 or 2 team members, but that's the beauty of working in this environment at the moment. There's not a lot of contracts that are sure, are confirmed. It's a lot harder than in previous years. So we just work with the team that we've got. And then if we get a big contract, then we can hire in the expertise to talk us for that.
Beautiful. So let's talk about that next organisation. So Te Hapori o Matihiko, how did that come about? How did that get added into your mix?
Yes, so like I said, Lee and I were speaking at a Facebook event. We were on stage talking about Māori and digital and technology, and both of us said, look, we'd love to contribute more to supporting Māori in digital and technology. And so we applied for fund through MB. We got the funding, and the vision for both of us was, one, we need to find a way of celebrating Māori in digital and tech and shining a light on Māori doing amazing stuff in this space. in a Māori way. And at the time, there was only one big awards, and it was the one award was the Māori Business of the Year, which focused a lot on the money that was made. And for us, it's often about contribution and impact rather than just the pūtea. So for us, we wanted to create awards that felt very Māori, but also allowed some of the unsung heroes who contribute in different ways to be celebrated. So like the kai āwhina, that could be the project manager or the person, your team admin person that just keeps everything rolling. We've had amazing kai āwhina who have been nominated and have won. So we have the Matihiko Awards, and Māori Awards to celebrate Māori in digital and tech. And then Te Hapori Matihiko literally means the Māori, the digital community. And so that is that's intended to bring Māori and supporters of Māori together to see all the different work that's happening, figure out ways that we can work together, but also support each other. We did a little bit of research before setting up Te Hapori Matihiko, and one of the things that was very clear was that there's a lot of Māori who were working in these spaces who were disconnected from their Māori side. They were still, rediscovering, maybe starting on their real journey, and they didn't feel very supported within their organisations that they were working in to be Māori. We wanted to step in and be that support system for them. And so we started 2022, and with 0 people, and now we've got 1,066 members with Te Hapori Matihiko. We're really working on moving this dial on this percentage of Māori in the technology workforce, which is 5%, 4.8% actually. And so the big problem that we see is that there's all these digital services, all these digital things that are being made for Māori without Māori input. And even if we wanted Māori input, we don't have enough Māori in the pipeline to come in and work on these things. So for us, we're like, right, we need to show our rangatahi what's possible through the awards, through showcasing our amazing kaimahi Māori in technology. And then we need to support them once they're in their work as well, and support non-Māori organisations to create welcoming spaces for Māori who to say, hey, we do actually want to work for your organisation that looks like a really good organisation that aligns with my values.
So Te Hapori Matihiko, is it a membership organisation where people join and become members, or is it more like of a community and anyone can come in? Like, what does that business model look like for Te Hapori?
Yeah, so it is a membership organisation. We haven't actually charged for membership yet, and that is something that we need to explore to become sustainably funded. We are funded by the Spark Foundation, and we have got 3 years of funding from them. We're in our first year, and that was amazing. That gives us a solid base to work from in terms of paying for our operations. The awards, we get a little bit of money from our sponsorships. So the awards pretty much pay for themselves, and then if we get some amazing sponsors, then there'll be some money that goes into our operations afterwards from that. And then we're a delivery engine, so if there's any kaupapa that connect with Māori and technology, we've got the team who can write the reports, do the research, write the policy, and deliver whatever needs to be delivered. So there's a few ways of us being funded. We welcome anybody in. So we run monthly mātauranga sessions. People register, they join our community, and we'll always be free for rangatahi and people who don't have work. So that's how that business model works. It's been exploration. We got funded up front, so it gave us a bit of a head start, I think. And now we're at the we're like, right, if our funding ran out tomorrow, how would we
Yeah.
keep this going?
Yeah. And that's
Yeah.
always a really good question to ask, right? Is if we didn't have this funding, then
Mm.
how could we be self-sustainable? And
Yeah.
that's probably going to come somewhere down the track, I would say, you know?
Yeah, it's definitely sitting there. And it's the reason why I am not 100% on Te Hapori Matiko or 100% on social good. It's because, we don't have enough funding to pay full-timers
Right.
over at Te Hapori Matiko. And I also love working on both kaupapa, so it's kind of it's important. But yeah, these are the I guess the challenges that come with setting up something new, figuring out how to fund it, figuring out what an appropriate level of funding is to pay yourself and all the other different things. And yeah, and being a kaupapa driven organization, you always have that little sense check of, is this good spending of this pūtea that's made to, has been put aside to achieve this goal. So there's a level of scrutiny that you give yourself. Yeah.
And so what was that challenge like from that moment that yourself and Lee had that idea? Did you go looking for that funding, or was it more like just the more people you talked to and spread the idea, then you got pointed in the right direction? Like, what did that look like as the first challenge to get Te Matahiko off the ground?
So the funding from MB triggered us to come together. So I messaged Lee and we both knew about the funding. And I said,
Right.
hey, this is what I'm thinking. Should we join forces and pitch together? And that's where that came from. So he was really keen on the awards. I was keen on building community. We came together, and then we did our research with groups of people who we were connected with, Māori who were already in technology, just to sense check a bunch of the assumptions that we were making, and that fed into our response to MB. So that basically built our business plan for the first year. And obviously things don't go as you think they'll go in the business plan. And and so we've just adjusted. Lee decided to step back after the first year to pursue a treaty claim. And that was that meant that we rejigged everything because he had also set up Te Mataro, which is the Māori Tech Association. So we did a little rejig of Te Hapori Matiko, Te Mataro, and that's how we came up with Te Ao Matihiko, which is the parent company for those two organisations. So
Right.
yeah.
Okay. So now I'm intrigued, like Te Ao Matihiko, a parent company for Te Hapori or Te Matihiko?
Yeah, it's the parent company of Te Hapori Matiko and Te Mataro. So
Right. Okay.
yeah, so Te Mataro is more our policy and research arm, and Te Hapori Matiko is our community and events. Yeah.
Okay. And so Te Mataro have a completely different team and they do their thing?
Yeah, so they've got a board, they've got 3 people who came through from when they stepped back, and they don't operate in the same way that Te Hapori Matiko operates, and that we have a team that are working all the time, every day. They are more as a kaupapa or a project comes up, they'll come together and work on it. So it's just a slightly different way of operating. But yeah, the Te Ao Matihiko is really just the official way of bringing those two organisations together and saying, okay, you do that, you do this.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, that sounds complicated.
It is, yeah.
What is the challenge? Yeah. What challenges does that throw up for you?
I think bringing two very different organizations together who have been on different paths and trying to align them, that's been a real challenge.
Mm.
Um, for me, it's chasing down all the putia. So who's been paid what's, for me, I need to have the full view.
Mm.
And so that's been another challenge, is just understanding what commitments have been made, and then how we can try and streamline things so we're not duplicating any work. Another part of what happened with bringing the two kaupapa together was that a board was formed for
Mm.
Te Ao Matihiko. A big driver for the board is that we're being entrusted with all this money from funding organisations, and so the board having oversight over our operations gives a level of security to the funding partners, that it's not just Katie's decisions. And it's given me a lot of relief in a way, so that it's, because you're kind of on your own a lot of the time with running these things, especially startups, and you don't really know if that's the right thing to do, because it's brand new and it's nobody's
Mm.
done it before. And so I guess having this board of people who are big contributors in all of their fields, having oversight, has given me a layer of security. It's also been a challenge to then, I've been on my own thing. I just have done whatever I felt was right. And then you have to adjust and be like, okay, I'm doing this. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
So it is a really different, a different way of operating.
Mm. So in one sense, over in social good, you were like deciding on the direction and taking on work that you want and saying no to work that's like doesn't fall within what you deem to, be where you want to go or what you want to work on. And yet
Mm,
in this other organization in Te Ao Matihiko, you've got work that's coming in where now you're answering to a board, or you're taking your ideas to a board and maybe having them shot down or blown up, or it's two quite different ways of working.
yeah.
How are you managing that?
Yeah. I think it is a real challenge. I have to say, having an all Maori board is very different to having other boards, because I've never felt that they've shot down anything. That it's more just been exploration and deciding on what our strategic direction is, and that sort of thing. I've still got pretty much full reign, but I think it's just that when you have a board, you do have a bit more accountability, and so
Mm.
that's the big difference. Whereas social good, I just make decisions based on how I feel.
Yeah. Because
um,
that's what we get to do as business owners. Like we get to decide things that
yeah,
based on how we're feeling, or what the direction is that we want to go in, or whether that's a piece of work that we want to take on board. But
yeah,
yeah, working with a board brings like lots of different views
yes,
to the
yeah.
table, and some are really risk averse, some are really like no barrier to risk and they're all in. So it's managing the multiple personalities. How are you finding that?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a lot to get used to.
Mm.
Um, you know, I think I've never had to work under a board before. I don't think, in a role of CEO. So I've been on boards, and so I've been on the other side of things. And I think now, being as a CEO, I kind of understand that there are challenging dynamics that occur with having a board and having a CE. And I think, yeah, I do really like the fact that it's a very Maori thing to wānanga on things. And it's
Mm.
really good for me to have a really wide view of of the community that we're serving, or the communities that we're serving. So, I am just one wahine Māori that has whakapapa tū raukawa and Ngāti Whātua. I have a certain perspective on the world, and all of my life experiences colour that, whereas all of them have all different knowledge and contribution. So I do think for this kaupapa, for a not-for-profit kaupapa, I think it's important to have a steering group or a group of advisors who are able to wānanga on what's best for the wider community, and making sure you've got a really good spread of, geographical and also knowledge on that board. Yes, but I do understand all of the different daru that happen with boards as well. So I see the value, but I also understand where little bumps can occur as well. This is very different being in operations and on the tools and delivering all day, and then having like a monthly meeting and saying, what about this? It's a different position. Yeah.
So how are you managing? So you're a busy lady. You've got your own business with Social Good. You've got Te Hapori o Matihiko, and you're also CEO of Te Ao Matihiko. How are you managing all three organizations in one day?
Okay, well, what a normal day looks like for me is that because we've got a remote team, we meet on Zoom, actually Google Hangouts, 3 times a week at 9 a.m. And so that's our check-ins. We plan the week on Monday, we do a check-in on Wednesday, and then we wrap things up on Friday. We always start with karakia and we close with karakia at the end. We start with karakia at the start of the week, we close with karakia at the end of the week. Because we are a remote team, we use all the tools, all the online tools. So we've got like a Facebook Messenger group that we send little updates, or the team sends copy to check, all of that. So there's back and forth all day. I use Trello. Trello is my essential tool for managing all the different things that are happening. We use it as a project management tool. So any work that we have in hand has its own Trello card, has someone assigned to it, and has a date of delivery. So we have a really good read of how things are playing out. I think the other thing that's probably worth mentioning is I was diagnosed with ADHD probably a year and a half ago. And it has been my superpower because people with ADHD can work on many things. The Māori word is aroreretini, so mind on many things. And I think that's the reason why I can work on so many different kaupapa all at once, because that's the way the ADHD brain thrives.
Right.
is working on heaps of stuff, and the path to completion is not linear for us. So you might do a little bit of work here, a little bit of work here, a little bit of work here. But we thrive on having timeframes. So if something's due, and this is something I've learned how to work with. If I say to a client, I'll get it to you by Friday 4 p.m., I've just set a deadline. And so for my ADHD brain, I'm like, great, I'm able to deliver that by that date because I've set a time. And whereas if you have a really wide scope, that doesn't work that well with people with ADHD brains. We've got to have some sort of drama.
Some sort of boundary. A nice little boundary to work within.
Yeah. So that's how I do it. And then I think the other thing that you probably mentioned is that I'm hapu. So I haven't been able to take my ADHD medication. So I've just had to lean on all the tools that I've been using throughout my whole life before being diagnosed with ADHD, rather than having the medication. But the medication is a dream. When you have it, it's incredible.
Wow. So
Yeah.
explain the difference to me, you know, Katie before being diagnosed, just doing all of the things on the go constantly,
Mm.
versus Katie now being diagnosed and has some medication to go with that diagnosis. What explain the difference to me and what that looks like and what the impact on your life has been.
I think the main impact is having a name for the way that I am and the way that I operate. And when you have a name, you don't beat yourself up about the way that your brain operates. And I think throughout my whole life, I'd be like, why do I approach it this way? Or like, why am I getting emotional about this? Or why do I have anxiety about this? And these are all symptoms of ADHD. But now I know, I'm like, oh, it's just the ADHD. It just means I've got lots of pots on the boil. Just pick one pot to tend to right now. And so I've got all these like little tricks, but it's also quite soothing to tell yourself there's nothing wrong with you. It's just you've got in a book I read, you've got a like a Lamborghini motor inside a Toyota car. And so and so your trick is someone who is not medicated is to learn how to put the brakes on the Lamborghini, so that it works with this Toyota that you've got it within. And so, I go to the gym every morning. I do balance exercises, which help strengthen my which helps activate the prefrontal cortex and the parts of my brain that I need to be firing. I do all my work in the morning. So anything hard and difficult, I do it in the morning. And then I do time blocking. So I'll set an alarm on my phone. I'll say, right, an hour and a half solid work on this, put the phone in another room, and then just focus on that one thing. When you have medication, though, you don't need to have all those tools as such. So I think most ADHD people will say they've got lots of different talk tracks happening in their brain all at once, all little challenges, all little things, and it might not be unsettling, but they're just all things that are simmering, like, oh, I've got to go pick up that prescription. I should reply to that guy, da da da. And so they're kind of like just little things simmering. And that's why you kind of, a lot of people with ADHD undiagnosed have anxiety because they don't realize it's just all the pots boiling. When you take the medication, you have hyper focus. I could not believe it. I was like, is this how everybody operates? And so like I talk about all the pots boiling, you might have 10 pots boiling and you'll just go, right, I'm going to tend to this pot and then I'm going to do the next pot and then I'm going to do the next pot. Whereas ADHD brain, you'll have little intrusions and then you'll go over to that one and you'll go, okay, cool, this one's being looked after now. So yeah, unmedicated, you have to use a few tools to help your brain out, but you can be sympathetic to yourself. And then medicated, you can have hyperfocus, but it does mean that when you're medicated, you might not have those big, wide, expansive, dreaming things that you might be known for. And so there's a really nice balance between using that superpower or that really, strong brain for big dreaming, big planning, wide, expansive thinking, with all of the different things considered, and then being hyper focused.
So what does that look like for you now that you're hapu? So now you're pregnant and can't take the medication. How have you had to adjust? Because I would say that, and this is my assumption, that there's been a lot of learning between the diagnosis and the non-medication and the medication, and you've probably got a whole lot more tools in your belt than you did maybe 2 years ago. So what does this look like now you're, being pregnant and not having medication?
Yeah, it was so bittersweet because I had maybe 6 months of medication before I became hapu, and the doctor said, you've lasted all your life without the medication, like just don't have it for this 9 months. So I was like, okay, cool. There's conflicting evidence on whether you can or you can't, so I just want to be safe. It's the first baby. So having the knowledge means I can organize my day for my brain. And like I said, I get up early, I go to the gym, I do all of those little activation things. I find my brain is really bad if I don't do exercise in the morning. I feel a bit foggy. I might feel a bit scattered. So, like on Saturdays, when I don't have to, have that routine, I always feel a bit scattered. And so, I think I thrive on routine. So, gym, coffee, go do a couple of hours of work, have little reward breaks. That's what that looks like for me. But I think that there's a huge amount of empathy that I have for myself, which I didn't have before. So before I'd be like, why can't I do this? Or why am I hitting this wall all the time and thinking it was something wrong with me? Now I'm just like, okay, you got to rejig this, Katie, because it's not working with your ADHD. You've got to create some sort of way ahead. So I've got all these different little tricks now. Like I've got this thing that I say to myself, which is, whatever you're doing, if it's contributing, you're doing one less thing that you had to do before. So like I might go tidy the lounge or fold all the washing or do other things. I'm like, well, it needed to get done. So I'm doing something, I'm ticking it off, and then I'll just come back and do that piece of work that I had started. And so yeah, beforehand I'd get a bit flustered and be like, oh no, which one should I focus on? And now I'm like, you're on this one, finish it and then come back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's when we give ourselves the graces. It's even if you didn't have a diagnosis, it's still look, let me just give myself some grace to go do that, and I'll get that done, and then I'll come back. I think a lot of the time we are putting pressure on ourselves because we think we should be doing something. So there's obviously been like a mindset shift with you between how you were functioning before and how you were treating yourself, and that little chatter inside your head, what that was saying to you, and now you're treating yourself with a lot more kindness and a lot more grace and a lot more forgiveness around what you're doing. How's that mindset shift been for you? How has changing that been?
Oh, it's been transformative. Like I actually was quite sad when I got my diagnosis because it was like a name to this way that I was for my whole life. And as part of the diagnosis, you have to go back to your school time and your parents have to kind of fill out forms and say what you were like. And there were all the markers. And for women, it's all in our brain. It's a busyness of the mind. For boys, it's more running around and being a bit more physically active. But for us, it's all in our head. And I just thought, oh, I'm just like this person that worries about everything. Like that deeply cares about everything. Like I worry about Gaza. I worry about the rates that we're getting charged. I'm worried about, and these are all just little things. And I was like, I don't know why I care about all this stuff all at the same time. And so having a diagnosis to go, oh, this is just the way your brain is. Like people with ADHD are naturally geared to be more empathetic, to care more about people, to see way more of the world. And these are all beautiful traits. And so I think it was a real mindset to move to kindness and say, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just this is just the way your brain works, and heaps of people's brains work like this. And then the trick. And I'm competitive as, like, if I compete with myself at the gym, anything. So if I give myself a little competition, I'm like, okay, how do I put the brakes on this brain? Or like, how do I do this? These are all really ADHD things to have a time-bound thing. Like I'll race the dishwasher to get like an hour's worth of house cleaning done while the dishwasher's running. So like I run all these little things that now I know are great ways to work with your ADHD. And then I think that there's a self-doubt thing that just comes with, I don't know if it's being a wahine Māori, ADHD, you know, like I think there's probably a few factors in there, but there's always this like lingering self-doubt, like, should you hold this space? Are you the right person to speak about this? Are you doing the best job? Are you honoring the people that you're serving? You know, like all of these little competing things. But now I just accept them as like chickens or guiding, guiding things rather than the reality, rather than it being truth. And I've also employed a bunch of that, the challenging yourself talk tools as well. So when you go, am I the right person? It'll be like, who else would be the right person? So like it's just to try and break those little circuits of self-doubt. So diagnosis has been amazing. I feel really sad that there's a lot of people who have ADHD who have not been diagnosed, who are high performers. And I know that they're struggling. And I've actually talked to a bunch of high performers about it because I'm like, I'm pretty sure you've got it, man.
Yeah.
and I just think it's I think once people have that name for how their brain works, the next challenge is, how do we make it, how do we superpower this, how do we really unleash all that it gives me?
Yeah, that's right. And on all of my learnings and journeys, I'm like, no one is the same. So we all have this little self-doubt, this self-chatter that's in our head that is always doubting what we're doing, doubting whether we're any good at it, doubting whether we should be doing it or shouldn't be doing it, or measuring ourselves against somebody else. I think that is a very human thing to do. It's just finding the tools and mechanisms to balance that out. And I've definitely, had all of those things across my journey in life and in business. And it's probably at this point that I'm being a little bit kinder to myself around balancing that out and not beating myself up so much around that self-doubt, and just putting yourself out there for what you are capable of. And you'll be drawn to the people that are, that want what you have, or you will repel the people that just aren't a good fit for you. And at the end of the day, that's good for everybody. We don't have to please everybody. And it took me a while to learn that.
Yes, yeah, people pleasing. Not everybody's going to be your people, like, and actually you don't want everybody to be your people. That's been one of the coolest things with defining social good, is saying we only work with kaupapa that's good for people and planet. So we don't get big oil, we don't get big tobacco coming to us, we don't get vaping companies being like, can you help us market ourselves? Because they know that they would have gone onto the website. Hopefully they've not even got into the front door. But I think values alignment is the biggest thing. And so, like you say, if those people are not connecting with your message, catch bye. That's not your people.
Yeah, they're not your people, and you don't have to please them, and you don't have to adjust what you do to meet their need. You just have to be kinder to yourself, that what you are doing in the world is good. And if it is good for you, then it will be good for somebody else. And you'll attract those people.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have your fundamental values really clear, then you're like, well, these are my values. They don't have to be everybody's values, but they're mine. And that's what guides me,
Yeah, nice. All right, let's talk about running 3 businesses, being hapu. That means maternity leave is like fast approaching. What is that going to look like for you?
I actually don't know. I've never not worked, Sandra. Like I've just, like I've had a job since I was 12. I was doing paper runs since I was 12. So I've always been independent, making my own money, in control of my destiny. And so, so I'm going to take 3 full months off. So that's planned. The beautiful thing is baby is coming at summer. So he chose, he's a little boy and he chose a good time to come. So he is coming at summer. And a lot of we never really get contracts around November, December, January anyway. And so nobody really kicks off campaigns. So on the social good side, nobody really does a lot over summer, which is great. We can create content and I think we can keep things moving, but it's not as strong a push. It is hard when you're the owner and salesperson as well. So a lot of the contracts or a lot of the mahi that we do is through connections, through networks, and through people being reminded, oh yeah, cool, I'll get in touch with Social Good to help us with this kaupapa. So if I'm not visible, if I'm not doing stuff, then that means the work's not coming in. And for that, I really believe in my team. I've got one kaimahi, Bo, he's an immersion te reo, and he does part-time with us, but he's obviously on school holidays while I'm off for 3 months. So he's amazing, and I think he can hold things down while I'm away. I will still be able to respond to messages and things as well. I'll probably enjoy that. On the Te Hapori Matihiko side, it's similar, but we'll be doing more events and things. And Lee's probably going to come back and help out during my 3 months. So the challenge for me will be taking those 3 months, and then I plan to come back, part-time at about 3 months. But look, I don't know what baby's going to be like. He could be really chill. He could be different and need more. I might enjoy just being full-time mama. So I need to plan for all possibilities. But I'm planning for baby to just sit in his wahakura next to me at work and sleep, and then I'll do work, and it will just be very easy. That's what I'm putting out anyway. So yes, I have plans, but they're loose plans.
Yeah.
And I didn't get that. And have to meet baby, have to understand how we're gonna mahi together as well, and then see how it goes. I'm really lucky that I've got a great team of people that I feel really confident in. And that's been a really deliberate hiring strategy. Is hiring awesome people who can all stand on their own 2 feet. If you're working remotely, you have to. And then, another little fun thing that we've done is, I haven't built them yet, but I'm building custom GPTs in our brand voice. So there'll be a Social Good GPT so that the team can just run through their copy and check it against all the other copy that we've written. So it gets into our brand voice. And then the same for Te Hapori Matihiko as well. So just inputting all of our previous content, web content, emails, social media, creating a custom GPT for that. And then they can just enter in, can you reframe this, or can you rewrite this in our voice? So that's just a little cool thing that's popped up out of me having to leave. And I do a lot of the checking of the copy. So if we've got a robot to do it, to do the bulk of it at least, then that relieves me a little bit.
I just did that. I just created a custom GPT because I've always told myself the story of, I'm not good at English. I'm not good at writing. That's not my thing. I'm a numbers girl. You can give me a spreadsheet of numbers all day, every day, and I'll organize that into columns and rows and formulas and all the things for you and make it look pretty at the same time. And I'm good at graphic design. Like, I can make things look pretty, and that, those 2 things are where I shine. But writing, I'm like, struggle. And I don't know whether it's always been a story I've told myself or whatever. But I've just created a custom GPT with my brand voice, with my brand values. I also put in there like my the outcomes of my personality tests. So I've done a few kind of personality tests, and I'm like, all right, this is this is my strengths. Yes, I agree with that. And so I put those all into the brand voice, and then fed that into the GPT. And I tell you, it is a godsend, especially if I'm in this mindset of just like rah, 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 rah. I'll put all of my raw thoughts into the GPT. I'm like, can you turn this around for me and write me the content of this email that sounds like this?
Yes.
And it will take all of my, like, almost my anger bossiness and turn it around to be a lot more softer and more empathetic. And I'm like, thank you. That would have taken me hours to come back and forth and back and forth and back and forth to get to the point where I feel happy to hit the send button.
Yes. It's been a real good tool for me with the ADHD thing as well, because you can get, well, I don't know if it's ADHD, it could just be the way that anybody works, but you get into those little mind blocks and then you can't get out of them. And so if you put it onto GPT and you say, can you reframe this? Can you drop it down to 100 words? And so it's still keeping your voice, but it's helping you rethink of it or get out of that circular thinking. And I think it's such a good co-pilot or tool or assistant to help progress you and also move you into those spaces that you might, you already know your content's great, right? And then it's all fed by you. And so it's just a reminder as well, like, hey, you can write, Sandra.
Right.
Great stuff. I think it's such a business owners that are utilizing these tools will see so many efficiencies.
Just saves me so much time. And sometimes it actually gives me that mindset shift that I need, especially if I'm having an adverse reaction to something and I just like get it all down on paper, even if it's just like bullet points, like rah, 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 and then put it into the custom GPT and just say, can you just reframe this for me? I want to reply, and I want to reply with this intention, but this is what I've got so far. And then once it gives it back to me, my mind instantly moves where it would have taken me like a good half a day going and doing something else, coming back, stopping, reframing my own thoughts. And that can take me a wee while too, to move my mind from one place to the next. So it has definitely helped me be a lot quicker and a lot more efficient, and helps me move my mind into a much better space a lot quicker than I would have otherwise gotten there. So it's been a game changer for me and how I think about how I write and my content, and giving me, it's almost that editor of coming at me with what I really want to say, even though this is all I got right now.
Yeah, it's so good. I have a friend who is very straight up in the way that she communicates. She's so nice in person, but she can be quite, like, the way she writes can be quite harsh. And so and so it's out of a need. I can do it too, because I write in plain English all the time and I'm getting the message out as quickly as possible. But it can come across as a bit, like you need to put some nice stuff in there. And so GPT really helps you go, or helps people like my friend. You can go, can you soften this a little bit? Can you make it a little bit warmer? And it's really helpful for that.
Yeah. But I really enjoyed the process of actually putting together that brand voice and thinking about the values that I had and the way that when I'm not rushed or when I'm not pressured, like what would I come out with anyway? And so my natural personality is to